Wake up, everybody. Hey, welcome, everyone. This is the Boomerang Radio Show, aired each and every Sunday right here on this network. That network, Studio W, The Buzz, your global radio network, circling the globe 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with some of the finest programs you can find anywhere around the world. We've got a special show tonight, got a special guest on. This gentleman has been on our network before, and he's welcome on this one anytime that we can have him. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me give this gentleman a proper introduction, and that is my friend, my groove brother, fellowman, Warren Gibbs, clinician too. Okay, located in Durham, North Carolina. The clinician too develops a recovery service plan and uses recovery-oriented therapeutic counseling to engage individuals in their individual recovery journey. The Clinician 2 also orients individuals to the program by collaborating and assessing needs, identifying the challenges, and facilitating the development of goals in the treatment and recovery process. Their essential duties are guest care and advocacy, serves as mental health professionals for individuals until they are enrolled in services at another community agency when applicable, conducts thorough clinical assessments and treatment plans for services, assesses the individual needs and provides appropriate support and referral, provides short and long-term recovery-oriented therapeutic counseling and education on a group or individual basis, provides family education and family counseling, facilitates recovery education courses, compliance and risk management, determines a provisional diagnosis, obtain documentation of medical necessity, and submits authorizations for service in a timely fashion, completes clinical documentation as required, complete incident reports according to policy, keeps abreast all federal and state regulation and laws, and all recovery innovation policies as they presently exist and as they change or modified and are modified. Understand and adheres to recovery innovations, compliance standards as they appear in the code of conduct and conflict of interest policies. Additional duties performs other related duties assigned. Hey, welcome to the set, brother Gibbs. How are you, my friend?
Peace, my brother. I see them G's you got on looking real good. I got mine on as well.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you and taking your time to grace our network, with what you do. There's so much to unpack. And so what I'd like for you to do, if you will, put in the comment section your information, your contact information. And there's also a program that you're scheduled to be on as a panelist coming up. Okay. And I believe that's Unmasked with Sister Helena and Sister Dana. They are swings. And so put that up in the chat box, if you will. And so we can take it from there. All right. Okay. All right, my friend. Man, there's so much to unpack, but I wanted to start off and I wanted to talk about the decline in mental illness, the declination rather of mental illness here in the United States, and how politics play a role in that, because people in this country, they're devastated on various reasons, for various reasons, and a lot of which has to do with policies that come down from the White House or in Congress. So can you kind of talk about that a little bit? And I'm going to play a clip here shortly.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Usually in a lot of my individual sessions, political comments, statements do come up when I'm talking to clients. We as social workers are taught to approach it from a non-biased standpoint in most cases, but to sit here and pretend like the things going on in this country, especially in reference to the government and politics, does not affect someone's mental or emotional wellness, that's asinine. Like literally asinine to believe that we as Americans or even natives of the countries aren't affected emotionally or mentally by the political views, standpoints, climate going on in their respective nations.
Okay. Very good. Very good. I look at a lot of things, and one thing I wanted to touch on, uh, and that is this organization called ICE, and what they're doing to children around the country, and women and children, the elderly. I mean, just so forth. It affects all of us, and I want to play something here, and I want your commentary on that. Let's see what we have. Hold on one second. Okay. Okay. This is something that's really bothering me. So let's share this with the audience, and we will comment right after that.
That puppy is fine. That is fine.
What happens to the children when a parent gets taken by ICE? For the parent, it could be months inside of a detention center or being deported back to their home country. And for the children, uncertainty, wondering if their parents will ever come home.
It's not puppy.
Across Massachusetts, thousands of immigrants, many with no criminal record, have been detained by immigration authorities. In May alone, federal immigration officials arrested more than 1,400 people in Massachusetts, more than any other month on record. A considerable number of those arrested are parents. Left behind are their children, some too young to understand what has happened. We recently followed two families with children whose parents were taken by ICE. The absence of a parent leads to severe financial stress and a mental toll that can be devastating for the children. Almost 30,000 U.S. citizen children in Massachusetts live with at least one parent who is undocumented, and many other children who are not citizens are living with a parent who does not have a legal status. In a statement to the Globe, the Department of Homeland Security said that parents are asked if they want to be deported with their children, or ICE will place them with a designated safe person that the parents choose. The Department of Homeland Security also said that parents can use a mobile application called CBP Home that allows them to voluntarily self-deport. The department added that it is offering $1,000 and a free flight out of the US for those who choose that option. Our reporting shows that these incidents are challenging and disruptive for these children and their families. With President Trump's recently signed budget bill that includes more spending on immigration enforcement, experts say this could lead to more ICE arrests, leaving more children without their parents. To read our full story, head to bostonglobe.com.
Okay, we are back. Yes, Brother Gibbs, let's talk about the long-term effects that something like this inhumane way of treating these people, the long-lasting effects, and not only the children, especially if it goes untreated. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. One thing we learn in therapy work is what's known as systems family therapy. With systems family therapy, developmental milestones, as well as how a child learns how to effectively interact with others, it starts at home. It starts with the family. It starts with the cultural environment that they are involved in. And when situations like ICE come and break up a home, divide a family, it critically affects one's emotional and mental awareness, because again, being snatched out of your home and placed in another environment, being separated away from the people that teach you safety, connection, community, trust, if that is taken away from you due to these laws that ICE incorporate, how do you function? How do you learn how to be I guess, productive and learn everyday functioning in a normal setting when it's uprooted so quickly, when agents or whoever come in and take you away from your home, or even worse, as a child, take the ones that you are supposed to trust in the very early stages of life to help with your developmental milestones, get snatched away. You might be placed with strangers, you may be placed with other family members, you may be sent to foster care. That can affect the child's emotional well-being from the early stages. I think about just, how this reminds me sometimes of what happened in the past with Japanese concentration camps, what happened with internment camps and so forth. You cannot function, you cannot trust the government for which you are supposed to, I guess, pay taxes, vote, and be involved in and understand the rights that you have of a human being when they're snatched away so abruptly at a young age.
Mhm. I see a comment here, and it says, "Don't sneak into a foreign country." Yeah, well, we will talk about that a little bit. These people, and it's reported that over 70% of the people that are snatched up by ICE, they are here legally. We see them going to. I'm gonna play another clip shortly. How they are going to their uh, required hearings, and let's put it like this: if you are a criminal or if you're here illegally, you don't show up to an immigration hearing because there's nothing scheduled for you. Okay, so they are trying to. There is a legal pathway to citizenship in this country, but to arbitrarily just snatch up random people who aren't doing anything. And what is really disappointing to me is that the Supreme Court, there was a challenge there that they, and the people who were bringing this charge, they were saying that, wait a minute, hold it, there's no due process here, and that ICE is uh, picking these people up based on the color of their skin, and the Supreme Court upheld that. So my point is, if you're doing everything the right way, and you've come in this country, you've applied for us for asylumship or asylum, and then you are snatched up anyway, separated from your children, and in many cases sent to a country that you have no idea, never been there before, you don't speak the language, and to be sent to somewhere, whether it's Guatemala or wherever it is. Uh, so let's see. I see a comment here. Hey, I snuck in. Now give me citizenship. You're going to accept that? That's not what we're saying. That is not, exactly not what we're saying at 2. That's at W12 AFT 0402 40211. So no, that's not what we're saying. If you're here illegally, they have every right to deport you. Okay, I understand you're supposed to come in the right way and apply for asylum. So that's not what we're saying. We're talking about the people that are here legally. So let's get that straight. Okay, let's do that. We're not going to allow information to come across our screen that's incorrect. All right. Again, let me repeat myself. If you're here illegally, or you're here illegally and you commit a crime, and there's something to be said. If you are a criminal and you are trying to get citizenship, perhaps that should be denied, because that's the reason for those hearings. We're talking about children right now that if they aren't treated, Brother Gibbs, we're going to call you Dr. Gibbs. I'm sure that's going to come down the pike soon. And if you aren't treated, this could have a long-lasting effect. In other words, what you can do with mental illness, then you could be creating criminals that wouldn't automatically be there. Can you touch on that, Brother Gibbs?
Trauma is serious, okay? And I see the comment in the post and so forth. And let me say to this commenter as well, some of us didn't even have the opportunity to choose to be here. Some of our ancestors and even refugees, for lack of a better term, some of us have sought asylum. Some of us were taken from our homelands and brought here illegally. and these laws over generations, not just decades, over generations, and seeing this happen to the brothers in the brown community and those that are not from here. There are hardworking citizens that want to come to America and do their best. They want to learn what is, true justice, the American way, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. However you look at it in the documents like the Constitution and so forth, you have American citizens here that still don't get those same rights and justices. And then there are more coming. And I agree with you totally. If you're not supposed to be here and you are, committing crimes and so forth, yeah, there should be some legal procedures that discuss deportation and so forth. But there are really hardworking non-citizens that want to become Americans, even with all the mess that some of us bring to the table. They still choose to be here, and to have this agency and this executive order come down when you are trying to learn the ways of this country. Mentally, it may affect you, and you're exactly right. It may turn you into a criminal. It may turn you into someone that doesn't see America as the land of liberty, the land of democracy, through these acts that we are committing. So how is that fair? We open our borders before this administration even came. We open borders for people to come and seek asylum, to seek freedom and the democracy. And now you're telling them, we're going back on our word. We're going back on what we said. And I mean, literally, let's just say I'm a year or 2 years short of nationalization, and ICE comes to my home and just, abrupts everything that I've worked so hard for the past several years to become American citizen. Then my children see this. Okay, it puts a bad lens of this country into these young people, and the folks that we fear, the criminals, the terrorists that you're mentioning, we're breeding them through these acts that we're committing and telling them you don't deserve to be here. Now, again, like my brother said, they haven't done anything illegal. They haven't done anything that would violate the rights of this country and deserve to be deported. But because this executive order was put in place and you create this paranoia that can cause anxiety, that can cause stress, that can cause depression, and these things lead to actions that may be considered or viewed as abrupt, illegal, or, domestic terrorism and so forth.
Right. And I'm going to leave these comments up because, and we appreciate your comments, but please understand and listen to what we're saying. And I'm going to repeat again. Yes, you're right. Legally doesn't mean you are a citizen at W12 ATH 040211. Yes, that you're right. It doesn't mean that you are. But if you're here legally, meaning that you're on a pathway, because there is a process to become a citizen. If you crossed the border illegally, whether you jumped over a fence, climbed over a fence or under the fence or dug a hole, whatever it is, okay, you got here illegally, yes, that's right. They have every right to deport you. But what we're talking about is deporting people that are doing things the right way. I mean, what do you want? There is it's right there in our laws that if you go to the border, you apply for asylum, okay, and then you get hearings on immigration hearings and things of that nature, and you show up to those hearings, then nobody should be arresting you at that point. To me, that's an illegal action right there, because you are doing things legally, yet somebody's going to arrest you anyway. And something else that I see, children being handcuffed and zip tied. We remember recently there's a report, and I saw clips on that, where ICE went in and they stormed an entire apartment building. Most of the people there were citizens. Brought them out in the middle of the night in the cold, children, women, children, and so forth, and they have them zip tied. Come on. And like Brother Gibbs was just saying, this, and I'm paraphrasing, brother, is that when we allow these things to happen, you may be creating a criminal down the road, because you are creating mental stress and causing a mental health issue. Okay, it is absolutely not right. And I'm gonna tell you something else. Just like he is, and you know who he is that I'm talking about. They're targeting brown people. Black and brown people, okay, from other countries, targeting those people. Yet He wants to give a speedway or an accelerated way for white South Africans to be in this country. Now, they didn't come over here applying for asylum. They didn't apply for that. This is something that he wants, and he wants colors. He wants people here, Sweden, Norway, South Africa, white South Africans. Okay. Now, if you notice, he didn't do the same thing for black South Africans. All right. He's right now they're targeting the Somalis. Now, the Somalis. I saw a clip where there was a group of Somalis that are targeted, and they supported this guy. That's because let's see. Just because you're doing things the right way, what are you talking about? I mean, we are obligated to continue to process. The Brown brothers paid their way. You want to give foreigners what your forefathers earned immediately? Well, guess what? This is a country of immigrants, whether you black, brown, or whatever it is. Okay, this is a country of immigrants. So I have no idea. You show up at the door, and cross the border legally. Some people need asylum because they are being tortured or victimized in their own country, and their lives are at risk. Okay, I would love for you to do some research on that, my brother, whoever you are. So, but anyway, I'm going to go to another. Brother Gibbs, while I'm pulling up this next clip, anything else you want to say on the matter?
Yeah, and I see the comments as well about showing up at the door and so forth. So let me just put a little more insight into what you're saying, brother. Imagine coming from a war-torn country. Imagine coming from a country where the freedoms are not given to you, such as they are in America. You are doing everything that you are supposed to do per the law to get nationalized and become an American citizen. And you just keep hearing messages of, we don't want you here. Okay, before ICE, we felt that in the black community. I mean, let's just be honest about it. Like, we were brought here and taken away from our homes. This became our new home, and we created our own culture and background here through the music, through culture, through literature, and so forth. Just imagine if they had done that with us. Any president saying, okay, we brought you here, now we're trying to send you back. Even when Garvey had the movement back in the day and wanting to send people back to Africa, they funded it because they thought we were going to go away. But many of us stayed here and made a culture of our own. In America, per the documents that we vote for and authorized to be legal documents, such as the Constitution, we have that right to come to this country and be free and be able to be who we are with no bias, no judgment, no discrimination. Now, we know in real life that ain't what's happening. But again, I come from somewhere that didn't want me. I come from somewhere for a better way, just to come here and be targeted and told I'm not supposed to be here. That can cause mental stress. That can cause emotional imbalance, because again, where is home? If I have nowhere to look at as my home, as somewhere that is a safe haven, as somewhere that is a refuge or asylum for me, what am I supposed to do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're exactly right. And if your life is on the line and you're fearful for your life and you feel for your children's life, then yes, you come here and you do it. And so I appreciate your comments, because this gives us something to really rebuttal. Go back and make your country better. Make your country better. How? Like the brother said, if you really don't have a place to call home because you're afraid that you're going to get murdered, are you supposed to stay there? Are you serious right now? All right, let's move on. And let's try this clip right here. Let's see what we got, brother. Okay, here we go.
I work with kids who are a group that would be targeted by this, and a lot of them have been expressing so much fear and anger, and I just feel like I would be remiss to not do my part, because I can, and I'm not going to be taken. They are definitely scared. I hear third graders comparing their skin color and wondering who's the most at risk. You know what I mean? Like, these kids are fucking terrified.
You want to see what real independent journalism funded by the people for the people looks like?
You ever heard a story like this in a person that we have interviewed? Apologies for the interruption. I just like to underline some points every now and then. So Olivia, why did you want to be out here today?
I'm Claudia, but yes, I just think we've all seen ICE terrorizing members of our community for so long, and it's getting so much worse. It's getting violent, and it's just something that you need to speak up for. You need to speak up about, because this is not only anti-democratic, and it's not only racist, and it's not only against what we want, but it just needs to stop. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, I work with kids, and a lot of them right now are really scared. I work with kids who are a group that would be targeted by this, and a lot of them have been expressing so much fear and anger, and I just feel like I would be remiss to not do my part, because I can, and I'm not going to be taken. So I need to do what I can do.
When you say you work with kids, like what age group? Like how young is this fear registering?
It's going all the way down to like 3rd grade, I would say. Even younger, they're not really entirely like conscious of it, but they are definitely scared. I hear 3rd graders comparing their skin color and wondering who's the most at risk. You know what I mean? Like, these kids are fucking terrified. Sorry, they're very terrified.
Meaning kids are actually physically comparing their like skin color to each other, being like on a spectrum almost of how likely am I to be profiled, to be abducted by ICE. I don't even know what to say after that. I mean, that is absolutely horrifying. I wanted to get a sense from you guys. First time out here at Broadview, first time protesting. Like, give me a sense of like your activism here in the Chicagoland area really just since Operation Midway Blitz started.
Yeah. I haven't been to any protests, and I think the most recent violent ones have really like activated me, and so that's partly why I'm out here today. I've done protests before, but not after Midway Blitz started, not since then.
Yeah. Same for me. This is my first one in this. Yeah.
Yeah. First time at Broadview. I've been to a few protests earlier in the year, just about ICE in Chicago generally, but it's gotten bad enough that we have to come out here. And it's not easy to come out here too. If you don't have a car, it's 2 hours by public transit. They make it hard to get here, so it's not easy to come out often.
Yeah, and you all are illustrating a couple of points. One, we noted as we walked up, we've been out here for weeks now, interviewing folks who have been on the ground here. We noticed a lot of new faces. You know, over those weeks, you can start to see, oh, that person's here again, they're local. Okay, tonight, a lot of new faces. Trying to get a sense now, what was finally the thing that pushed you guys to be out here? I heard you reference a couple of things in there, but if I could get you to expound in a little bit more detail. Was it one thing in the news? Was it just the ability to finally get out here, scheduling? Like, what was it that led you to finally come out here and express yourself here in Broadview?
I think this is the first time I saw a protest ahead of time. I wasn't really seeing the ones before. And then there was some in Brighton Park. I think that was the ones that got super violent. And the people who were there documenting that did amazing work, because it made me realize how violent, how like up and close and personal, how violent they are. So that's why I can pick it out.
Yeah, I want to say, so she's making reference to Brighton Park, which is the neighborhood where Marimar Martinez was shot by ICE agents. We were there on the ground the day that it happened. We were there in Brighton Park. We were there when ICE fired tear gas and flashbang grenades into the crowd as they were leaving. As they were leaving, they did that. They did not need to. They had the road clear. They could just drive out. But instead, they're popping tear gas. They're setting off flashbang grenades just because they could. Just into protesters. Sometimes they missed. There was one house where they threw tear gas. It looked like they were trying to land it somewhere near a group of protesters, and instead it ended up underneath the porch of a nearby home. That then we spoke to the homeowner the next day. Wouldn't go on camera, but explained to us that some of that tear gas had made it inside. That was some of the things that we were seeing out there. And ICE not distinguishing between any folks, because Chicago police got tear gassed right alongside of the people who were there to protest ICE's presence there in that community. And then as soon as ICE left, that crowd dispersed. So again, showing that ICE has been, as we've seen in instance after instance out here, has been the antagonizer. I don't think that any of you would be out here if the ICE facility were not here. Is that correct?
100%.
Okay. All right. I'm going to stop that just for a second here. Brother Gibbs, there's a whole lot to unpack there. these young people out there because they're sick and tired of doing this. And like he said, the last thing I heard him say was that ICE is out there antagonizing people, and those people wouldn't be out there protesting if they weren't there. And in many cases, they don't need to be there. And if you look at the cities, this is all politically motivated. I think it's done on purpose. And the purpose is, and you have to look at this administration, they will give you a reason why they are doing something. And the real reason happens to be opposite of what they really want. I think that this is part of a cover-up, and this is part of maybe trying to deflect from the Epstein files and other criminality that this government is doing under this administration. And if you look at other things, just look at something different. I'm going to play this a little bit later on in the program. Look at what's happening in Venezuela right now. Look at us invading Venezuela, and it was supposed to be about drugs, but the bottom line is it has nothing to do with drugs. It's about us taking Venezuelan oil. We'll get back to that in a little bit. Let's see. Memphis at times had a higher violent crime than Caracas, Venezuela. Should Americans seek asylum because they say it has a high crime rate? No. What are you talking about? Americans seek asylum where, brother? So some of these comments that you're making really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm not into embarrassing our guests, but I mean our commentators rather. But if you're leaving stuff that doesn't make any sense, I'm going to call that out because people that's on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, they can see your comments, but we have other people that's listening on the apps, whether it's Android. And I invite each and every one of you, if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, download our app. And that way you can check us out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe and leave a comment there. LinkedIn, Facebook, put a like there. It goes a long way. So check it out. Okay. But so far for another people to do the same. Okay. I don't know what that means, but anyway, brother, like I said, people come out and protest. There have been I've seen many more protests this year than I have collectively in the last several years because people are sick and tired of this. We don't want to be another old Nazi Germany. And these guys these ICE agents remind me of the brown shirts out of Germany. This is not the country that I recognize. It's not the country that I recognize. And the thing about it is, if you want to be an ICE agent, one of the qualifications, well, you can be as young as 18 years old. Now, I don't trust 18-year-old people untrained to be a police force. And these guys got $170 billion budget over the next several years that they can use. And you find out if you do a background on these clowns, you'll find out that a lot of them are criminals. A lot of them are criminals. So it is absolutely crazy. They don't know. They are not trained. A lot of them aren't trained. As a matter of fact, the training, my friend, it has been reduced. They do not train them, okay? They are not trained properly. And if you heard what I just said, I mentioned to you that a lot of them are criminals. They are criminals themselves. Many of them have been arrested. They have even shot their own. I saw a clip where this pastor was outside of an ICE facility, and they shot him in the head with a rubber bullet. They shot an innocent woman. But there's another clip, I don't have that at my disposal right now, where they shot this innocent woman on the way to work. She was on the way to work. And she was a citizen. So what I'm saying is they are not trained. There's no due process. And the thing about it is if you have a warrant, and many of them, they don't even come with warrants. They'll say, well, we don't need a warrant. I mean, they act higher than your regular law enforcement or police officers in many areas. So I'm going to step aside and let Brother Gibbs, talk about maybe the clip I just played and any other commentary you might have, my brother.
Absolutely, because I'm looking at the comments as well, and I saw the video clip. So let me go back to what my man said about Memphis. Us as American citizens are struggling. Many of us financially struggling. So imagine being in a city with a high crime rate like Memphis, and you move for a better solace, and you take everything that you work hard for to put your children and your family in a better surrounding, and you're snatched out of it because you don't fit the bill. Don't matter if you're from another country or not, you don't belong here. And just knowing that can mess with your mental and emotional wellness. You literally took everything you had out of savings, everything to move your family to a safer environment. Let's take the cities out of the equation. Let's take the countries out of the equation. I just want to move to an environment so my children can live a better life. For one, it's costly. That can affect you mentally and emotionally. Look at, just us trying to put kids in a private institution because we believe they'll get a better education, and just the tuition costs for that. Let's look at putting our kids in college. Let's look at sending our kids from somewhere like Memphis to move here with the cost of living where I reside now in the Greater Triangle area of North Carolina. The cost of living is rising. And then I do everything I can to get here, and I'm barely getting by, just to hear the government or some administration or even just a local organization like the HOA telling me I don't belong here. When I feel stuck, when I feel trapped, when I feel there's nowhere to go, yeah, I can't mentally focus and function to do what I need to do to take care of my family. I can't look at my well-being as something that is of importance and maybe go see a therapist or go talk to someone because I'm worried so much about everything going on in my personal life just to make ends meet and put my family in a safer situation. Then what you're saying about ICE.
That's right.
Absolutely. You can take some local, we're not doing background checks. We're not doing mental health assessments on these gentlemen. We telling them, look, we can probably pay you 3 times what you make at a 9 to 5 if you come be an ICE agent and go to work for us. And the work requires you being aggressive, hostile, volatile, and snatching people out of their homes with no, due process. You have no due diligence. You literally just the color of their skin gonna snatch this person out. Don't even know if they're an American citizen or not. And then imagine the families that are blended. Literally, you got some that are citizens that bring their family over because they're like, this is better over here. I'm gonna pay for you to come here. And then you divide the home because you go in, you may let the ones that are nationalized stay, and then the cousins, the grandparents, and so forth that they are bringing here to live out the rest of their lives get snatched up and sent back home. How would you feel if your grandparents, the ones that raised you to come here and do what you need to do, and you want to bring them here and show them how great America is, get snatched up and put in these camps or sent away? That would affect anybody. It doesn't have to do with race, culture, or nationality. It's just the mental capacity of knowing I'm not somewhere I can be free and safe. When you take that safety and that trust away from any human being, of course, it's going to cause crisis.
It's going to cause crisis. And many of those people, they don't have the resources or even know about, says like programs that you run, brother. When you deal with mental health patients, a lot of them aren't even aware of how to get some help if they need it, you see. And then, of course, now I don't know what the cost is for your program. Now, do they have, if someone comes to see you, do they have to have insurance, or what's needed in order for them to attain the help that they vitally need?
Well, truth be told, I work in many different capacities. Some sectors I work in a nonprofit. Some sectors I work in, you have to have private insurance. And let's not even get on that road, because look at how many American citizens are struggling with obtaining health care. So you take someone from another country and they are trying to make ends meet. I'm sorry. Besides taking care of physical health, a lot of people are like, therapy is, I can't right now. I can't afford it. I can't, with everything else I got going on, therapy is the last thing on my mind. So it is hard to even get anyone in that capacity to go talk to somebody. Us as men, that's why I'm going to do the thing in Atlanta next weekend. We are creating an environment and a safe space for men to be vulnerable. Men don't believe in being vulnerable. And then you put so much more on that plate, like this ICE situation. You put so much more on that plate, like the political climate of this country. You put something else on that plate, like being a man of color and knowing that they have to mask and sugarcoat and what's the other word, code switch, just to sit in a room with people not like them and fit in, just so they can keep their job. Or knowing that they are that person that was hired due to DEI or affirmative action. That's a lot of pressure to put on anyone. And if I can barely pay my bills, unfortunately, therapy would probably be the last thing on my agenda to do. So I'm bottling this stuff in. And unfortunately, for so many of men of color and not of color that are in the prison system or in the cemetery, many of those situations were results of someone that didn't have anyone to talk to.
You know, and I apologize to our friends that's on the apps or the website or even Alexa, because you don't see these comments. And I'm leaving these comments up here because W12 ATH 040211. There are many people out here that have the same mind, the thought process that you are right here. And I'm gonna read a couple of these because what you're saying really doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm gonna leave it up here for educational purposes. Okay. Let's see. They don't, you think they need a warrant to arrest someone? Yes, I do. Hey, there's a bank robber. Quick, let me get a warrant. No, come on. That is, I'm not gonna call it a stupid comment, but that's a stupid comment. All right. I'm just gonna say it like that. Okay. And I'll tell you why. If someone is, you're not going to educate us, brother. We're trying to educate you, okay? So what I'm saying is, boy, I'm enjoying this because the rebuttal is coming. So what I'm saying, if somebody is in the act of committing a crime, no, you don't need a warrant. No. And anybody with two brain cells to rub together know that you don't need a warrant for that. However, there's a thing here. No, you're not going to. There's something here called due process. If I walk up to someone that hasn't done anything and I suspect that they are here illegally, I don't even know that, and I just go and arrest them, that is wrong. I need a warrant for that, okay? I need a warrant to arrest that person because, number one, I don't know. I'm just looking at them because they're black or they're brown. So let me walk up and I'm going to just put handcuffs on these people or intimidate or interrogate. And again, and let me be crystal clear, if you are going to the court for your immigration hearing, that means it's been scheduled. That means you are here legally and you are trying to be a citizen. That's the way to do it. If you cross the border, and I'm going to say this for the 9th or 10th time, if you cross the border illegally, then they have every right to send you back. They have every right to deport you. Okay, and I would even say if you are in the process of becoming a citizen, but you are going to commit a crime. I'm not talking about a speeding ticket or a parking ticket or something like that. But if you commit a serious crime, I think they have the right there also to send you out of this country because you're trying to apply to be a citizen. Okay. And so the dumbest thing to do is to commit a crime while you're trying to be a citizen. That makes no sense at all. Okay. Suspecting a crime, that's simply not true. You don't need.
If I can, let me chime in real quick because I see some of these comments. Let me explain to the gentleman. First of all, I've worked with law enforcement in some of my past positions and organizations that I've been affiliated with. And even law enforcement across the country has received funding to help police officers with mental health awareness. We have teams known as crisis intervention teams that get called instead of that Walker, Texas Ranger that's going to shoot first and ask questions later, because you just don't know what you're dealing with when you come upon a citizen or a non-citizen. Let's just be real. I'm not walking out here every single day asking somebody if they're from here or not from here. I'm not walking up on people every day with a warrant. And I mean, I see both sides here saying you don't need a warrant to arrest someone. Absolutely. But again, you have an organization that is walking into people's homes asking for citizenship papers or whatever without really any formal requirement. picking teenagers and kids up off the street. Kids are scared to go to school because these officers will walk through the hallways, look at you because of your brown skin, and then hassle you with no due process. As you said, I have no reason at all. It ain't like this young man is trafficking drugs in the school. It's not like this young man is doing anything that warrants me even asking, hey, are you a citizen or not? Are you an immigrant? Are you illegal? Are you legal? Where is the requirement, or where's the due process there that makes ICE agents approach anyone and say, we need to screen you, or we need to check you? And what really needs to happen is, going back to the mental health aspect, we have states like mine that will allow you, if you're 18 years of age with no criminal background, to go and secure a weapon. No mental health assessment, no screening beforehand. And you worried about the immigrants, the ones that want to go to work and make a living in America. But then we got other people that are from America that are doing these acts of domestic terrorism because no one is checking or taking a minute to say, let's check his mental health. Have there been instances before talked about anxiety or depression? Has there been instances before where he's, said things that he was going to do? Like, we just arrested a young man, 18 years old, for making statements about terrorist attacks and being affiliated with ISIS. Grandfather knew for years. All the grandfather did was hide knives because he thought it was just him acting out. But now he's locked up, about 20 years in prison. And all I'm thinking as a social worker in the back of my mind is, did anyone ever talk to this young man, assess him, see if there was something else going on with him that we could have caught beforehand? See, therapy can be preventative, and having that strength behind any role you play. ICE agent, law enforcement gives you a little more patience, a little more understanding, a little more empathy when we have to approach these situations versus shoot first, ask questions later. Take first, ask questions later.
And this brother wants to know, what does due process mean? I'm not sure whether he's being facetious or he really doesn't know. Educate me. What does due process mean? Okay, let me tell you what it is. Due process is a process of law enshrined in the 5th and 14th Amendments, requires the government to provide a person with notice and an opportunity to make their case in court before depriving them of life, liberty, or property. Due process protects us from the arbitrary exercise of government power. I hope that helps out a little bit. And yes, you need a search warrant. You say you need a search warrant for someone's property, but you don't need a search warrant to arrest someone you suspect of a crime. If someone is committing a crime, but you have to have reasonable, articulable suspicion, okay, and it better be solid, because that's how a lot of these clowns get fined and they have to, and sued after he's sued. And after they are detained, that's what they get, due process. After they detain, well, you have to have a reason to detain someone, because if you illegally detain someone, you can also be sued. Okay, I hope you knew that. I hope that clears up things for you. I'm gonna go to this next clip.
And let me say this, brother. Yeah, suspect. I keep hearing that word, and that's what on both ends we need to analyze and look at. Again, there are many people walking this earth. They might be a suspect, they may not be a suspect, but again, I feel personally like you're both saying due process has to be put in play, because just think of how many people are here and they may be non-citizens and they're not getting trailed or tracked or whatever this ICE process is, because they're not doing anything wrong. That's why I have a problem with ICE, because again, if they aren't doing anything wrong, he's saying they're illegals. What defines an illegal? I want to ask you that as well, this commenter, because what defines an illegal? I can literally live in this country, go to work, do what I'm supposed to be doing under the radar, never commit a crime, and ICE will never come get me. That's what I got a problem with, per se. I'm not agreeing with the ICE process. I'm not agreeing with people that are here they're not supposed to be here. Now, I totally get where you guys are going when you say you commit a crime, but if crime is one of those mitigating factors versus anything else, then you got plenty of people here that are not nationalized citizens doing what they're supposed to be doing, going to work, paying taxes and everything, and never get noticed by ICE. And then you're going to single out people and get it wrong sometimes. Like we just said, people getting sued, there are fines and so forth because we snatched up the wrong one. There needs to be a more formal explanation or investigation of who you gonna pick, who you're not gonna pick, or just leave them alone if they're not doing anything wrong. Because again, you're breaking up homes, you're creating more people with mental health situations that didn't have them before due to trauma, due to discrimination, due to the what I feel are illegal procedures in which you determine whether you should be detained or not.
That's right. That's right. And also, to the guy that's, well, I assume that this is a gentleman. They are illegals. You don't know that. You really don't know. They're getting detained because they are illegals. Look, let me just share something with you. There have been hundreds, at least up to 200 American citizens that have been detained by ICE. Did you know that? Did you know that? You've also have some that's been deported. Did you know that? So what we're saying is, if they're here illegally, but you don't have a warrant, you don't have anything, you have no proof, you're picking these people up because they are brown. Well, what about some of these white people who have come here illegally? Okay, how many of those have been detained by ICE? So, hey, brother, get your facts straight, but we're here to educate you today. All right, let's go to this one. Look at this. Look at this.
You know, it's not often that I get to use Gestapo and good news in the same sentence, but I am happy to report that that guy has been relieved of his duties. But we need to call out and talk about both what he did and also what relieved of his duties does and doesn't mean. And we also need to explore why that guy got fired, but this ICE agent in DC who dropped his gun and then proceeded to point it at onlookers in rush hour traffic didn't get any kind of reprimanding or punishment for his complete inadequacy, despite our brave fascist stormtrooper losers allegedly being held to the highest professional standards. And look, I know this will be hard to watch. I actually don't even know if YouTube will allow me to play most of the footage I'm about to try to show you. But this is more important than ever to talk about. So get loud, get vocal, get mad, and subscribe to Really American to help us fight back and bring attention to this. Because if MAGA can cancel docs and send death threats to people for simply disliking Charlie Kirk, I think the least we can do to push back on the left is to show the true colors of these fascist pigs and put pressure on someone to hold them accountable for their actions. We'll break down this poor family's plight in just a second, but Jesus Christ, just look at this.
Pull her away. Pull her away. Suerte. Suerte, señora. Suelta la niña. 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 Suelta la niña.
That child is being shoved up against a wall while her father's being ripped away from her. Oh, how pro-life of you. Oh, how pro-children. But no, folks, MAGA needs to protect the women as well, right?
Watch this.
Adios. 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 Come on, man.
And the children watching this.
The fact that this is happening alone is abhorrent, but the fact that an ICE agent can commit such blatant violence with impunity is even worse. And yes, he got relieved of his duty. We'll talk about that in a second. But this is far from a one-off incident. And I'm so sick of the left versus right violence bullshit, because look at how MAGA morons are spinning this online. This guy posted this video and said, watch, illegal alien desperately holds on to his wife and kids as they resist his arrest by masked ICE agents outside immigration courts in New York City. Agents are able to wrestle him away and escort him down the stairs to a processing center. This piece of shit goes on. Elad Eliyahu, a White House correspondent, do with that info what you will, says the hysterical wife of the detained alien follows around and confronts the ICE agent who repeatedly tells her adios, then two-hand pushes and shoves the woman to the ground in front of her children. Hysterical wife? This is some high-level misogynistic reply. Shame on you for promoting this. He's in immigration court. Cowards in masks ripping this man away in front of his children and then assaulting his wife. ICE is rot. And shame on the New York Times here, too. I don't know if this is just because they couldn't get his name, but they named the woman that got shoved to the ground, but don't name the ICE agent. ProPublica identified the woman. I don't see this guy's name anywhere. And then a spokesperson for ICE said the officer's conduct in this video is unacceptable and beneath the men and women of ICE. No, it's not. No, it is not. Okay? This is exactly the behavior of ICE. And she goes on, our ICE law enforcement are held to the highest professional standards, and this officer is being relieved of current duties as we conduct a full investigation. She then declined to elaborate when asked if the officer had been suspended or fired, saying, quote, that's being determined pending investigation. Who the hell is in charge of that investigation? This incompetent asshat who dropped his gun because you guys hire only the best, then proceeds to point it at a crowd of people. I don't even know if I can show this video. I'm going to leave it playing here like this while I explain the story. I mean, just listen to how this starts. Like, the guy is on the ground screaming for help. This guy's got his knee on his neck. You can see the gun here. He tries to holster it in his waistband. And then right here, he reaches for it, drops his gun, and immediately picks it up and points it at bystanders. An ICE agent dropped a pistol, then briefly pointed it at onlookers during a chaotic arrest made in the middle of a busy intersection this week, a viral video shows. The scene played out Wednesday morning in Hyattsville, Maryland, just 7 miles northeast of the White House, according to the local photographer who says he recorded the clip during rush hour. ICE has not released any details about the arrest and did not respond to a request for comment. However, a nearly 10-minute long video captured by the photographer has been shared thousands of times on social media. U.S. Gestapo without masks, this time destroying lives. Who are these people? Disgusting. Is this proper gun handling procedure? The officer who dropped the pistol kept it in his hand for the remainder of the video, ignoring pleas from onlookers to put the gun down. Bystanders yelled at the arresting officers and taunted the agent who had his pistol drawn. One man could be heard yelling, "What are you going to do? Shoot me? Go ahead, shoot me, shoot me, go ahead." Cars can be seen passing through the traffic light as the scene unfolds. Eventually, those in the lanes blocked by the officers began laying on their horns, adding to the chaos. The man being arrested pleaded with officers throughout the video, at one point repeatedly calling out, "I love America and I love you." At one point, he said that he was born in D.C. And when you just throw billions of dollars at an agency like this, that, by the way, was born out of the Patriot Act and post 9/11, DHS came about after 9/11. ICE is a part of that. The irony that stemmed us funding our own domestic terrorist organizations. And so what the these are our brave heroes that are supposed to be held to the highest standard, and we're only bringing in the best. We're only hiring the best. People who can't even de-escalate, and we're giving them guns, we're giving them body armor, masks to shield their identities. But no, the left are the violent ones. The left are the problem. Get off your high horse and go to hell, MAGA. This is the problem. You are the problem. And your complete lack of human decency, empathy, Christian values, and your willfully blatant, blissful ignorance of what is actually going on. ICE is paying Palantir $30 million to build Immigration OS, a surveillance system to track immigrants' movements, which we all know when the government has unfettered access to all of our data, all they do is good things, right? Remember the Patriot Act? Remember the NSA? Remember Edward Snowden? Speaking of which, here's Ronan Farrow explaining exactly what the
Okay, all right, we're going to end that right now. Okay, let's do this. Okay, got some getting some interesting comments here. Okay, and I could see. Okay, you're a grifter. Okay, all right. I don't know what that means. Well, I know what grifter means, but I wish, shucks, we could get some money in here. Guys, hey, why don't you subscribe? You can help the process here, all right? deport all illegals, no due process, just fingerprint and deport immediately. Wow. So I guess Kenneth, you just I guess you came in late. We said, I don't know how many times, Brother Gibbs, we said this before. If you're here illegal, you deserve to be deported. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Um, but now, this couple that we saw in the courtroom, they are not here illegal. They're going through the process. They apply for asylum. Do you know what that means? Okay. Perhaps you probably need to look that up, sir. All right. Uh, they are not here illegal. There is a legal process to enter this country. You understand? And most of the people in this country come from immigrants also. Did you know that? Your parents probably came from immigrants. Okay. Not unless you are Native American. Not unless you are Native American. If you are, let us know. All right. If not, you came from immigrants. All right. Okay. So yes, if they are illegal, no due process. Well, you still have to go through the process to get them out of here. But they deserve to be deported. You have to make sure that you are right. Okay. And due process, I read it. I'm not going to read that over again. But you also have to go through the process. But these people aren't illegal. They are in the courthouse going through their immigration hearing. I don't know how many times we have to say that. Perhaps you just came on the program late, but they are here illegal. That's a legal process that the government has designed and the courts have designed so you can become a citizen of the United States. Okay, you got that? So the point is, Brother Gibbs, and also look at how they treated that father and look how they treated that mother, throwing their mother on the floor and arresting her or detaining her. And the children are watching. That's what I'm saying. It's causing a larger, this is your field, brother. It's causing a larger problem than we have in the first place. Now, I'm going to say something else. Immigrants commit less crimes in the United States than Americans. Did you know that? They commit less crimes than Americans. You know why? Because they want to stay here. They want to be here. And they're afraid that if they commit a crime, that they will be deported. Americans, I'm going to repeat this again. They create less crimes than American citizens. Okay? Brother Gibbs.
A criminal don't want to get caught. Plain and simple, for lack of a better term. You're exactly right. Criminal, non-criminal. At the end of the day, nobody wants law enforcement at their doorstep every single day, even if you're not living in the right way. Let's just be honest about it. And I agree with what you said about, less criminals. I mean, more immigrants are non-criminals than they are. But it's deeper than just this when it comes to the mental health scope of practice, because again, I'm very non-biased about views when it comes to ICE, when it comes to deportation, anything. What bothers me is this: as a black man, my brothers that are brown, this environment, this atmosphere, this aura that we are profiled, that we are looked at in this way, legal, illegal, a citizen, non-citizen. We walk the streets every single day looking over our shoulder, having to act accordingly, whether we are supposed to be here or not, because of this stigma. Again, the problem is there are nationalized citizens that are Hispanic that are being investigated, being screened, being addressed by ICE because of the color of their skin. I'm sorry that everybody can't relate, but we can. Literally, I have to carry myself in certain environments where I have to know my surroundings, know how I walk, know how I talk. If I say something the wrong way, it comes off aggressive, volatile, or hostile. And it takes very little for a law enforcement officer or even an ICE agent to flip the script and take away my due process. Because yes, American law does say when you are in prison, when you have been convicted of a crime, when you are justice involved, as we call it, you lose some of your rights. Okay, there's a big on another social work field in another scope. There are people advocating for prisoner rights and so forth because there are very inhumane conditions in these holding cells, very inhumane conditions in our prisons, very inhumane conditions in these correctional facilities. Many of them are privately owned, and things happen there that advocates, lawyers have had to come in and get people out of these situations or ask for them to have rights because no one's looking. And if we allow it to, ICE and this deportation and this Department of Homeland Security situation, it's going to be that same trickling effect. And I'm still going to stand up and advocate and say we see more acts of terrorism domestically than from anyone that is an immigrant who you may consider illegal. More acts of terrorism are happening on domestic soil. When are we going to address that? Versus they're not supposed to be here, they're non-citizens, this border, this wall, this whole thing has been happening since MAGA came. But we still have issues at home. You so focused on going outside and not handling the problems on the inside. And again, all of this deals with mental health awareness because many of us as human beings live this way. Okay, we go outside, act like everything's okay, and we don't handle what's going on internally. We put on this mask, we smile like everything is okay, not dealing with what's happening on the inside. It sucks what happened to that husband and his wife and kids. It sucks what happened with that gentleman that was kneed on the ground and the guy was pointing the gun at the bystanders and so forth. But just look at the image we're portraying. If you want to take away just the whole legal matter of it, look at what other countries are saying. Look at what other countries are saying and so forth. Look at people that may want to come to America and create new innovations and creations, because come think of it, many of the inventions in American culture came from people that you would define as immigrants. We're not looking at it from that standpoint. We're looking at it, they're illegal and they're not supposed to be here. We got to do better. We
And I
got to do
tell you
better.
the other side, yeah, and the other side of that, and just like you have these anti-DEI people out here, which I do not like you. I'm gonna tell you right now, you anti-DEI. That means you're an anti-humanitarian or humanity, as far as I'm concerned, because you look at what diversity. This is a diverse melting pot, the United States. Okay, equity. You would want your neighbor, whoever they are, or whoever he or she is, to have equity and inclusion. So are we going to continue to discriminate like we have in the past? Okay. And many of the inventions that we use today, okay, we can go all the way up to NASA, all the way down to the elevators, to the trains, and they were invented by who? Black people. How about the stoplight? Okay. Or the cell phone. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Yet you're going to talk about DEI when you have such an incompetent administration in it right now. So your definition of DEI is that they got the job that they didn't deserve. You don't talk about generations and what's the word that I'm looking for? Because I hired my brother because he's my biological brother, or I hired my son because he's my son. Has nothing to do with the fact that he is not qualified. Okay, if that the word escapes me right now, brother, if you could think of it.
Nepotism.
Oh my.
Nepotism. Definitely nepotism.
Oh, yes, it was. Hey, I don't know who you are, 12. Yes, sir. Look it up. The black light, the stoplight was invented by a black guy. That's exactly right. Okay, exactly right. Okay, you probably gonna tell me that the cotton gin was invented by Eli Whitney too, aren't you? Okay, don't even start with me. Okay, so but anyway, let's get back on topic here. The point is, man, we deserve it. Like you mentioned earlier, look how many students come from other countries on student visas, or even people from other companies on work visas. Okay, that come here and they add to society. Okay, but anyway, but let's see. It was never what I don't know what this guy, brother. Put the drink down, please put it down. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to go to this next clip because I think again, this whole thing is a farce, and it's a deflection with ICE and this Gestapo regime and Homeland Security. And these guys, I think they're doing something to deflect for what's really going on. Like again, the Epstein files are being covered up. Okay, they're being covered up. And look at the illegal things that the administration is doing as far as grifting. You're speaking of grifting. The $400 million airplane that came from Kuwait. Look at the golf course that this guy is going to get. I think that's going to be built in Kuwait, and luxury hotels over in the Middle East. The terrorists and all this kind of stuff. All of these things right now, they okay, I'm going to skip that for a second. All these things, I think, is a deflection. And it's just like when it comes to us invading Venezuela, which leads to my next point, brother. And so we have to understand we have Venezuelan adults and children living in this country. There are children and adults in Venezuela that are being terrorized by this government. So, and are we going to go and invade and take anything that we want? It seems like this is what they want to do. He's talking about taking over Iceland, talking about taking over Canada, the Panama Canal, so forth and so on. So what is this all about? This is absolutely crazy. It is absolutely nuts. Now, remember what they said. We're blowing up the narco terrorists. We are blowing up these drug boats. Okay. And this, I forgot, I don't know how many now boats we've blown up. And they says, some lawmakers said this is a war crime. But technically, we're not in a war because Congress is the one that declares war, right? And so if it's not a war crime, then it's pure murder. Okay. And the one that and one clip that they haven't released, they did show the first strike, and that's when they hit this boat, and you had 2 survivors, and they're floating on something look like, and some people describe it as no bigger than a tabletop. And what they do, they struck them again and killed these men. That is inhumane. Now that is murder. That's against international law. And what are we doing there anyway? Okay. Now think about this. What you're supposed to do now, it's supposed to be a drug boat, but you blown up the doggone boat. So where's the evidence? Where is the evidence? And I heard something the other day, and it says, well, some of those, what's been washing up on shore here lately has been traces of marijuana. Okay. Traces of marijuana. I thought you said it was cocaine, but you don't have, you blown up the evidence. What you do, and what has been done in the past, is that you seize the boat, you arrest the people. If you suspect them, go on and arrest them, or seize the boat. And if there's some illegal things that's going on, if there's illegality going on, then you arrest the people, you lock them up, and then they get a trial. You don't kill them. Okay? That's against the law. But they will not release that second strike when they actually murdered these 2 men. Okay? You don't see that. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, in case you're listening, okay, the Martin traffic light before Garrett Morgan's patent, which was never even used. Okay.
I'm on 12. JP Knight. Yeah, let me jump in here because I'm on 12 hard because I looked at that comment and I decided to do my own personal research while he did. Mm-hmm. But I want 12 to know that even though JP Knight was a predecessor of the traffic light coming up with a patent, Garrett Morgan's is the one that is more frequently used and is the standard. So yes, you can say JP Knight invented the modern traffic signal. Yeah, he did before Garrett Morgan, but it took this black man's patent that is still used today. So I just wanted to shut that down because I was seeing his comments and everything. Yes, it is Garrett Morgan's that is the standard. There were several gentlemen before Garrett Morgan that came up with these ideas of a traffic light, but his is actually the one I'm looking at it right here. Garrett Morgan's is the T-shaped 3-position signal that has the essential warning phase, yellow light, significantly improving safety by giving drivers time to react, leading to the modern system. And before we get into the Venezuela thing, just imagine if another invention that changes and betters human life and safety could have been created, but ICE took that gentleman out of the country. Just think about that.
That's right. That's right. And to tell you something, I think that Garrett Morgan also added that third light, because I believe what JP Knight did, I think there was 2 lights there. I think Garrett Morgan added that third light, which you say is commonly used. It's commonly used. Yeah, where have you seen that? Well, look it up, brother. Look it up. Okay. And like he said, look at what's being used. So it's the modern traffic light that we use, okay? That was invented by a black man. As a matter of fact, there's so many inventions. We're going to have a show on that too, brother. I'd like for you to come back on that particular show, okay? Come back on that particular show too, because we're going to, this year, we're going to do more shows on Black history. Okay. So anyway, I want to say something else. We were talking about the drug boats, or alleged drug boats that are being blown up. Okay. And I'm going to tell you right now, it had nothing to do with drugs. Nothing to do with drugs. And if you listen to the president's comments back there, we can go back to 2019 and even up to today. He didn't mention anything about drugs. He was talking about taking Venezuelan oil. That's what it's really all about. That's what it's all about, because Venezuela has the largest oil deposit in the world. And there's no questions about it. Okay, let me add this one here. Okay, here we go.
Venezuela's Supreme Court has ordered Vice President Delcy Rodriguez to assume the powers and duties of the acting president. The order was announced just last night after the court determined that Maduro can no longer exercise his functions as president. Rodriguez has demanded Maduro's release. As CNN's Paula Newt reported.
Just hours after the dramatic extraction of her president by U.S. forces, Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was the picture of defiance. Surrounded by regime loyalists, she called the U.S. operation barbaric, único presidente de Venezuela, declaring Nicolás Maduro is the only president of Venezuela. Known to many in the country simply as Delcy, Rodriguez has been an influential and reliable regime enforcer for nearly 2 decades. She began in the government of Hugo Chavez, faithfully implementing the tenets of Chavismo, the nationalist populist movement that brought the Venezuelan economy to its knees. When Chavez died in 2013, she remained an assertive voice within President Maduro's government. Uncompromising in her rhetoric, she vilified the Venezuelan opposition and frequently warned the country about the threat of foreign intervention. Crucially, as energy minister, she also has been a steady hand in funneling Venezuela's dwindling energy revenues to the regime. Seen here last month with state workers, she says, "We have something to tell Mr. Trump. Venezuela doesn't owe the U.S. anything." And yet, Rodriguez has for many years been sanctioned by Canada, the EU, and the United States. CNN attempted to question her in 2016 after...
Wait, just pause for a second and let this sink in. We all woke up to headlines, clips, and frantic reactions claiming that Donald Trump just crossed a line most people never thought he actually would. Not a threat, not a warning, not a vague statement, but a moment where, according to his own words and the way his allies described it, the United States suddenly looked like it was treating Venezuela as a target instead of a country. And the reaction? Immediate, emotional, and honestly, chaotic. Because within hours, Venezuelan officials were on national television. Social media was on fire. American lawmakers were furious, and the explanations coming out of Washington didn't even match each other. That's where things get interesting and unsettling at the same time. Let's start with something most people overlook. This entire situation didn't begin with boots on the ground or some formal declaration. It began with statements, words, claims, framing. Donald Trump standing in front of cameras and describing what he said was a justified action.
Aware of the location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President, how many hesitations about Machado? Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be.
While others around him scrambled to explain what he actually meant. And that difference matters more than people realize. According to Trump, this wasn't about drugs. It wasn't about law enforcement. It wasn't even framed as some limited operation. In his own telling, this was about power, resources, and control. He openly talked about oil. He openly talked about running the country. And whether you support him or oppose him, that language alone set off alarm bells across the political spectrum.
The president noted, too, this morning that while this is about, he said, getting the drugs off the streets and how it's impacting Americans here, he was asked about the oil. I mean, Venezuela has a lot of it, and he said that we will likely be involved in some kind of way. Talk to about how it complicates factors there.
Well, Venezuela has the world's largest proven oil reserves. At its peak, Venezuela was contributing about 5% of global oil output. That figure is now infinitesimally smaller, less than 1%. The oil reserves in Venezuela, under a best case scenario, are going to need years of revitalization and investment. They have suffered significantly under sanctions and have really declined because of lack of upkeep and other factors. So one of the outstanding questions is whether President Trump and the administration will look at, under certain circumstances, really based on who takes power next, lifting sanctions, lifting prohibitions on U.S. and international companies investing in and operating in Venezuela to help bring their oil fields back online in an efficient way, to revitalize their heavy industrial base.
Oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave, actually.
Now here's the twist. Almost immediately after Trump spoke, Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, went on national television and delivered a defiant address to the country. Her message was blunt. Venezuela would never be a colony. Venezuela would never recognize any president other than Nicolas Maduro. And whatever pressure was coming from the outside, they were not backing down. From the reactions I've seen, that speech wasn't just for Venezuelans. It was aimed straight at Washington. Rodriguez wasn't speaking like someone preparing to negotiate. She was speaking like someone drawing a line. And when leaders speak that way publicly, it's usually because they believe backing down would be politically fatal at home. That's where the tension really comes from. Because while Venezuelan officials were signaling defiance, Trump was sending a very different message. In comments reported by multiple outlets, he suggested that foreign forces, specifically Cuban personnel, had been protecting Maduro. He claimed many of them were killed during the operation, framing it almost casually, as if to say, they shouldn't have been there.
And you don't want to have that, but we're going to be rebuilding, and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in, they're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago.
The U.S. leader indicated that Venezuela's Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, would be sworn in as interim president, but she rejected that account, demanding Maduro's immediate release and warned Venezuela is ready to defend itself. Maduro has arrived in New York to face drugs and weapons charges. President Trump, meantime, has justified the intervention by accusing him of being the leader of a drug cartel, allegations he denies. Venezuela holds the world's largest proven oil reserves, with China as its top partner. Mary Trini Mera is covering the story for CNA in Caracas, and authorities are reacting to the situation.
For the most part of this Saturday, the city of Caracas has remained in calm after Venezuelans woke up with 3 kinetic strikes conducted by U.S. military forces that ended up with the extraction of the leader of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, and his wife, Celia Flores. Right now, the head of Venezuela is Delcy Rodriguez of the country. She appeared on national television surrounded by members of the military forces and also members of the key institutions of the country, saying, first of all, that they will declare a state of emergency to take control over the streets and the borders of Venezuela. She denied any conversations or negotiation with the Trump administration, as Donald Trump suggested. And also, she said that the one and only legitimate president of Venezuela is Nicolás Maduro. Delcy Rodriguez.
Now,
drinking warm water before bed improves eyesight almost overnight. Apparently, thousands of.
Okay, let's go back. Okay, my brother. I think, in the beginning, what I posted was, I wanted to know, and I'm paraphrasing even what I said, how the current political climate is affecting the decline in mental health here in America. And I think it's something that really needs to be addressed. It's something that really, really needs to be addressed, because you have a lot of people, a lot of sick people out here that, and you mentioned something that is spot on, and that is that a lot of people, with the cost of living right now, with the health insurance, food, buying food and housing and utilities and everything else, wow, mental health, paying for mental health is probably the last thing that some of these people are even thinking about. And a lot of people who are mentally ill, I want you to address this. Do they know that they're mentally ill?
That's a very good question.
In your experience?
No, absolutely not. Because, I mean, it doesn't even have to, we can look at the political climate, but let's just take it back to a cultural aspect. Social work, mental health awareness is a fairly new development, hands down. Okay, the history of social work, the early beginnings started with programs that honestly, the American people, I can't put it on one race or nationality, but let's look at the civil rights movement. Let's look at the ACLU. Let's look at some of the things that Clara Barton did, Red Cross. We had all of these different programs that started American culture for different reasons. People were underprivileged, for lack of a better term. There were people that they didn't know how to handle from a medical standpoint, so they created institutions. Well, somebody said one day, no, we can allow people that are mentally ill to survive in everyday life by creating new programs. So now we have like the group homes and the residential facilities where people who are mentally ill can have a better life than being institutionalized. True, there are still long-term care facilities, but even the federal government opted for, we can say, budget cuts. We can say they wanted to better human life. That's where Social Security came in. That's where Medicaid came in. That's where Medicare came in. And these options are for those who may not know they're even mentally ill. I don't even look at mental illness as a cross to bear. Okay, it is no different than someone that has diabetes. It's no different than somebody that has cancer and so forth, because sometimes just imagine getting a cancer prognosis, how you may feel emotionally after that or mentally after that if a doctor tells you, well, you only got 6 months to live. Well, some clients that are diagnosed with something like autism or bipolar disorder or even depression may look at that in that same way, like, oh my God, what do I do now? And people in my field, in my scope of work, scope of practice, we're teaching how to manage symptoms, how to manage thoughts, how to manage emotions and sensations associated with these mental illnesses. Because truth be told, everyone has experienced what's known as a mental health symptom. Everyone has had a day of depression. Everyone has had a day of anxiety. Everyone has had a day of anxiety. Where it becomes an illness is when it's chronic. The duration of these symptoms lasts longer than a few days or so. Okay. And without proper assessment, psychological or psychiatric evaluations, there are people that are mentally ill that do not know because no one ever told them. Okay. If they are in an environment where mental health awareness is not praised or talked about or even acknowledged, they may not know that they're dealing with depression. And then later on, when something serious happens, like a suicide or a act where they lash out or some hostility, and they're like, why didn't we see it before? We come in some cases and try to provide preventative care so it doesn't get to that. Okay. Medication works sometimes. Sometimes medication doesn't work, and we can use coping strategies. Sometimes coping strategies, along with yoga and meditation, can help someone dealing with what I like to call emotional unawareness. Emotional invulnerability. They don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to share what's going on and so forth. Many of the acts of man come from what you're thinking emotionally and mentally. Take war, for example. Someone said that before we got into mental health awareness, before we started being vulnerable and so forth, remember, we're still in a male-dominated society in America. We were often taught to suck it up, don't cry, don't express how you're feeling if it's not a good thing. We don't want your bad news. We don't want your pessimism. If you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. And we're trying to create these safe spaces and these environments so that can happen. But truth be told, anyone can be mentally ill. It's just getting the help that you need to find out on what level you are. Are you just having a bad day? Or is this something you've been dealing with for a while because of some of the things you've been through in life that needs a little more adequate care than saying, okay, I'm going to sit home and pray about it?
Right. I tell you, I was talking to another professional such as yourself. I've done shows like this over the last several years. And these are the shows that garnered the most watches or the most views, rather. And I said, wow, I have. Then you wonder how many people. It shows you that there are a lot of people out here that are suffering, mentally, you see. And so what if to the regular listening audience, what would you suggest that each and every one of us do if we're not feeling quite right? What are the types of things do we need to look out for? Like some people say, you don't want to get out of the bed, or you don't want to shower, you don't want to go outside, you don't want to have company, or you just feel blah all the time. What are some of the symptoms of someone who's going through a mental, maybe not a crisis as such or yet, or maybe even so? What are some of the things to look out for?
Those are definitely some of the symptoms, but for lack of a better term, and the best way that we define it is impairment in what's known as functioning. Okay. And the two main aspects of an impairment in functioning include social and occupational. And still being an associate myself and learning, occupational has so many different meanings, because often when we hear occupational, we think going to work, right? Like, I can't get out of bed. I don't feel like going to work today. I'm gonna call in sick. No, occupational also means like occupant. If you cannot occupy yourself in the ways that you normally function, in other words, the things that keep you calm, the things that keep you normal, the things that help you get out of bed are not hitting or resonating today. Like literally, you got to go to work and pay bills. You got to go to work and take care of kids if you got mouths to feed. That you got hygiene is important, because if you don't, these things can happen, like staph and infection and so forth. Normal everyday functioning, the social determinants, the things that we do on an everyday basis, if we begin to not do those things over a significant course of time, then it becomes a mental illness. Again, I can have a bad day and I don't feel like getting out of bed. But if I don't get out of bed for the rest of 2026, there may be something I need to investigate, get assessed, and look at. I can get mad sometimes and lash out and cut somebody out. But if I can't keep a job because I cannot socialize effectively with others. I'm always thinking people are out to get me. I'm always thinking that everyone is against me. I have nothing positive to say. And it goes on for a significant period of time. We're talking like 6 months to a year here. Couple days, couple weeks, maybe, but sometimes we look at it from 3 to 6 months. Sometimes it's 6 to 12 months. Each of these diagnoses have a duration of when someone has to observe and monitor these symptoms to identify if it's a significant mental illness.
Oh, interesting. I see these comments here. We might address those. This is crazy. This guy is still on the traffic signal. So again, you know, you look at the signal that's being used, and so we know Garrett Morgan invented that. So period. It's just like you having a car that don't run. Is it really a car? You know, yeah, it might be a car in its shape and stuff like that, but if it's not useful, if it's not being used, then no. Okay, anyway, something else. I'm one of my friends, she's on listening right now, Kim Rogers, and she doesn't mind me saying this. She went through let's talk about trauma a little bit. Let's talk about trauma. And she was at work, and she worked for this train company. Okay, I'm not gonna call their name. Okay, because things are being litigated right now. And a alleged or so-called customer came in. And wanted to use the restroom, and so she was walking in front of this guy to show him where the restroom was. He pulled a gun and shot at her several times, and luckily those bullets missed her. And so she hasn't gone back to work in several months now because she's traumatized to go back to that particular place. Because number one, often she was there alone. She had told the company, well, you know, we need security in this place. All right. They ignored her, and this happened. And so one of her insensitive co-workers was telling another co-worker, well, I don't know why she can't come back. You know, the bullet didn't hit her. Well, see, the fear of knowing that you almost lost your life, to me, brother, would be enough to cause a traumatic reaction. What's your take?
I remember this case. I think you shared it with me last time I was on as well about your friend, and I'm sorry that happened to her. Trauma, as I said in the original podcast, trauma has no timeline. Okay, trauma has no timeline. People live with trauma sometimes until the day they die. And she went through something that would make anyone fearful or even stepping outside. And thankfully, we have approaches known as trauma-informed therapy and modalities and interventions that would help. I'm sorry that our coworkers feel that way, but they don't understand because they weren't the ones who got shot at. So yes, there are people that will stigmatize trauma and say, get over it, suck it up. That's why, again, men are so reluctant to be vulnerable in most cases when we're raised to grow up and be tough. Think about it. I can be honest and say I cannot recall one time I seen my grandfather, and thankfully I was blessed to have my great grandfathers with me for a little bit in my young age. Never seen them talk about therapy. Never seen them talk about going to see somebody for counseling, any of that. These were just real men that handled their problems. In the case of your friend, what I would do is a modality that is known as exposure and relapse prevention, ERP therapy. And it is a form of cognitive behavioral therapy where, yes, we are exposed to the event, whether it's going back to work, whether it's going to that location, whether it's gunshots played on YouTube or something. But what we're trying to do is help her through modalities and cognitive behavioral therapy not see that workplace the same way. The trauma is always going to be there. The thought will never go away. But what we're trying to prevent is how she feels about that moment. We're trying to make her resilient towards what happened to her. And it may take time. It ain't something that's going to happen overnight. But in this approach, we work through we expose her to the environment, to the situation, to the traumatic event, and work on strategies so that every time she is exposed to this moment, it doesn't cause the same negative behavior symptoms where she may have crying spells, she may freeze, she may have a panic attack. We work on preventing that every single time she's exposed to anything close to what happened to her. One simple step is somebody walking behind her, because I believe you said the gentleman was walking behind her and she was guiding him to the restroom. That would be one way to start. Like, how are you feeling in this moment with your back turned and someone walking behind you? Okay. And then we investigate how many times have you been in a store or shopping or even out in the community since this event happened and had people behind you, whether you're driving a car, whether you're walking in the mall, at the grocery store. How do you feel in those moments? Is the anxiety there? Is the irritability and the frustration that you felt being traumatized, is it still there? And the more she begins to say no, we explore that. Well, what's on your mind right now? What are you thinking? What are you processing now? Because again, the gentleman behind you could have a gun, but you're walking through this grocery store and you're okay with me being behind you. Maybe I'm just trying to get some off the same aisle that you are. What are you processing from that? And then we use that and we practice that to eventually put her back in that environment at that train station or location where she was, and practice those same techniques where she'll say, you know what? He's not here. No one's aiming a gun at me right now. I feel okay in this moment.
Right. Wow. Oh, also, what I'd like for you to do right now is talk about this upcoming event that you have, and it's called Unmasked. Tell us a little bit about that, and also, I think you put up something earlier on how people can find it. Or is it going to be on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and tell us a little bit about it, the purpose of it, and your participation in it, and tell us a little bit about it. And is this the first time?
Absolutely. I've been honored to participate in an ongoing series. I'm actually in part 2, but it's an ongoing series. And in this series, in the panel that I'm going to be involved in, me and several of my other our group brothers, we will do a barbershop talk. And in this dynamic, in this setting, the men will sit up front and the women will kind of play the back. They'll listen, but it's for the men. It's going to be a barbershop talk, because in many communities of color or male settings, just like I was sharing a few seconds ago about never knowing if granddad or great granddad went to therapy, men do not know in most cases how to be vulnerable. And if they know how to be vulnerable, they don't know where they can be vulnerable. Like, literally, we are taught from a young age to be tough. One of the craziest things, because I've been doing research to prepare myself for this discussion, young men as young as 8 years old to older men in their 60s and 70s. I asked them the same question, and I went like 13-0 last week asking this question in sessions. And I said, what is something that men refuse to ask for? So I'm going to ask you, Will, to see if I'm 14-0 real quick. What is something you know that men are very reluctant and resistant in most cases to ask for?
Okay. That's going to be fascinating. And like you said, men, and it doesn't matter what culture, men are talking about, don't show your emotions, don't cry. You got to be toughen up and stuff like that. And that's like suppressing your feelings, which has in some way backfire on you, right? If I'm holding something in, stuff has to come out. You can't continue to hold things in. If you're feeling a certain way, you can't mask it, because that could cause some problems. What would you say, bro?
Men hate being wrong. Look at the comments that we're looking at in this post right here. This is not bothering me, because I think about the barbershop and how we could sit here, me and you, just fellowshipping. And I said, Will, who do you think is the greatest boxer of all time? And you may say Muhammad Ali. And I said, nah, man, I think in my era, in my day, it was Mike Tyson. And then we had this back and forth banter to the point where we might get upset with each other, start arguing. We could do this argument about the greatest basketball player. We could do this argument about who cooks better food, your mama or my mama. And the thing that these gentlemen told me in the sessions, we refuse to ask for help. We won't even talk to each other sometimes. In most cases, we won't even come together and collaborate for so long. Look at the organizations and the fraternal organizations. They were started, especially in our community, because we weren't accepted by white men in their fraternal organizations. And even after that, there became different organizations where my frat is better than yours or my sorority is better than yours. And we went from having what's known as a collective mind frame where we would collaborate and say it takes a village to this colonial mind frame where somebody always got to be the standard and better than others. Some principles that fall under colonialism, the talented 10th, the 99%. You know, there's got to be a certain group of people who are privileged with power and influence that help the others who don't have it, versus all of us collaborating together, coming together and working effectively as a unit. We separate, we divide. And these are some of the topics I'm going to talk about in this panel that men really have to get back to a place or discover a place if they've never found it before, where they can be safe, it's private and confidential, and they can be vulnerable without feeling judged, feeling ashamed, feeling embarrassed to talk about what's on their mind.
This is going to be fascinating, bro. And so when is this program going to take place?
Yes, so it'll be in Atlanta, Georgia. We will be at the Fulton County Library. I believe it's on Auburn Avenue, bro. I'll send you a flyer if we need to get it out to the listeners. I was trying to, I did send a Facebook link with some more information in the chat. So yeah, I think it's in the private chat if we could get that out to the listeners. But we will be in Atlanta, Georgia next Saturday, January the 10th at 3 p.m. It will be you can register for it. You have to register for it if you're in the Atlanta area and you're coming. And we're working out the details regarding if there'll be a live stream or something following the presentation. But the presentation will be live in person in Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County Library. What is the address? The address I have, my good brother, is... 1 second, I should have had it up already.
Okay, take your time. Take your time. In the meantime, while you're looking that up, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in. We've got a few minutes left to go in the program. Thank you for tuning in to the Boomerang Radio Show. Okay, and the Boomerang Radio Show comes to you each and every Sunday, and that's 3 p.m. on the West Coast, 6 p.m. on the East, 5 Central Standard Time. You can also download our free apps if you like music. You can tune into the Buzz. We're on 24 hours a day with some of the great music. 80 to 90% of our shows are centered around music. Tomorrow night, or tonight rather, tune in to Studio W. Studio W Sunday Night Gold with yours truly, WB and the Jazzy Diva. Tomorrow is Monday Night Madness. Tuesday, we have Groove Swing Speaks. Wednesday is Cultural Excellence. And these programs start at 8 p.m. right here on the East Coast. Except for Tuesday, the program Groove Swing Speaks. This is where we connect the dots with brothers and sisters around the globe. And we bring on interesting topics. That's how I met Brother Gibbs right here. We have various topics. We talk about business to sports, medicine, education, practically anything and everything we talk about. Anything that can improve your life in our lives, we talk about that. Yeah, Brother Gibbs?
Definitely. So the name of the event is known as Unmasked Part 2. It will be sponsored or held by our sisters of the Atlantic Grad chapter of Swing 5 Swing Social Fellowship Incorporated, January 10th, 2026 at 3 p.m. It will be at the Auburn Avenue Research Library. That's 101 Auburn Avenue Northeast in Atlanta, Georgia. Open to the public. Join us for an enlightening discussion on when the men talk and the women listen, what balance looks like, and the vulnerable side of men is what we will be talking about during this panel discussion next Saturday, 3 p.m. ATL, Georgia.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yep, you can check us out. Check out Brother Gibbs. I'm looking forward to that conversation, and it is a necessary one to have. And we will be doing shows on Black inventions, and there are several, over 50,000 patents, such as we talk about Garrett Morgan. Okay, that's the one that's being used today. I understand that 12 has Yeah, there were others that were invented before that. Many of those were manual, but let's talk about what's being used. What is affecting your life today? And Morgan seemed to be the best. Color computer monitors. That was by Mark Dean. The gas mask. That's Gary Morgan. Blood bank. Charles Jew. Have you heard of him? He's a black man. Hair care. Madam C.J. Walker. Three-way trackers. We talk about the three-way tracker system. That's Morgan. Automatic elevator door, which saved a lot of lives. Elevators were extremely dangerous before he came up with the door, elevator doors. E.C. Barrett, E.C. Fisher, J.W. Norton. There's so many. The light bulb filament. Oh, yeah. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, but guess what? It didn't last long. So Lattimore came with the filament, and that made the bulb last. Okay? You didn't have to change it every few hours or so. Corn planter, Henry Blair. There's so many. Let's see, we talk about traffic control, computer technology. That's Mark Dean, developed the first color PC monitor. Charles Drew, we mentioned that as well. Alice Parker, the gas finish system. Okay. Marjorie Joyner, permanent wave machine. Jan Metzler, automatic shoe, Ziegler. Okay. Matzeliger. Matt Ziegler. Okay. Automatic shoe lasting machine. Otis Boykin, precision electrical resistors used in pacemakers. Henry Blair. We could go on and on and on and on. So thank you guys for tuning in. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with, brother, before we exit?
Absolutely. Just hearing you talk about all those inventions even brings back the message tonight that we discussed about our brothers, that we are in solidarity because we've been through it. So I want to say to any of my brothers in the brown community faced with ICE deportation and all of those things, we stand with you, because even amidst all of these great inventions that my brother just mentioned, we to this day still deal with that discrimination, still deal with that harassment, still deal in some areas with that volatility and hostility towards us because of the color of our skin. So we stand with you because, again, even through all of that, and this is why mental health awareness is important, we withstood the test of time, the test of hate, and created these great inventions that saved America, whether they like it or not.
Whether they like it or not. Okay, and if you don't like it, get over it. So thank you, my brother, for joining me tonight.
Here to stay. Of course, we ain't going anywhere. We here to stay, and so are y'all.
That's exactly right. Hey, thank you so much, brother. Come back tonight at 9 p.m. I'm going to, along with the Jazzy Diva, we're doing our show called Sunday Night Gold. Brand new music. Kick back, grab a glass, and listen to new music and old school classics. So in the meantime, my brother, I wish you well. Have a great night and a better tomorrow.
You as well, bro. Be blessed.